The forest falls silent. Your breath catches as a deer steps into view. But when it turns towards you, your blood runs cold. Those eyes, that face, it's not a deer at all. Welcome to the InBetween. I'm Carol Ann, and tonight we're plunging into the nightmare realm of the not deer. If you search Google for Appalachian cryptids, the results you will get will blow your mind, or at least it blew mine. The sheer number of things out there that I have never even heard of is astounding. But there's one particular one that caught my attention, the not deer. If you've never heard of this particular creature, it's a deer, or first it seems to be a deer, until you realize that it's not. It either moves in some weird, unnatural way, or it gets up on its hind legs and chases you. Some people in the Appalachian area like to claim the not deer as one of their own, but as you are about to find out, they exist in places far from the East Coast. But let's start our stories there. This story comes from someone only using his nickname, Gris. When his encounter took place, Gris had been living in Waynesboro, Virginia for about 5 years, less than 10 miles from the spot where the north end of the Blue Ridge Parkway meets the south end of Skyline Drive. Beautiful scenery in either direction. And Gris spends many a leisurely afternoon riding those scenic roads. One night, Gris is having a particularly hard time settling in for bed. So he decides to start up the bike and ride up to the first overlook on Skyline Drive, McCormick Gap Overlook, only about a mile inside the park. By the time he gets up there, it's about 11 o'clock and it is dark, like can't see your hand in front of your face dark. He shuts off the engine and immediately feels uncomfortable. Gris is not the kind of guy who gets intimidated by the dark. He loves the dark. Not tonight, though. Tonight, it's thick and oppressive. He spent active duty time in Iraq, and this darkness is worse than anything he has experienced outside of a cave. Darker than any moonless night he has ever spent on the Appalachian Trail. He immediately feels creeped out. Gris tells himself, "Calm down. There's nothing here except me and the wildlife." He has his .44 with him just in case, so he knows he certainly has the upper hand if he runs into anything, animal or otherwise. So he just sits there for a while, in the dark, savoring the solitude, looking at the lights in the valley below. He's there maybe 10 minutes when he feels the hair rise on the back of his neck with a familiar feeling. He only did 27 months in Iraq, but he remembers that feeling, the feeling of someone watching you. It's actually a common thing among vets with any experience under their belts, that they get a sensation before a mortar attack starts, or someone's about to start shooting at them. You can feel hateful eyes on you. Something bad is coming. The overlook in front of him goes almost straight down, so nothing's coming at him from that direction. But the mountainside, which is thick, untamed woods, is behind him. He starts thinking about the numerous predators, either animal or creepy randos, that can be anywhere on the Appalachian Trail, which effectively is Skyline Drive at that point. Still feeling creeped out, he decides it's better to have the drop-off behind him, so he turns and takes a seat on the waist-high stone wall that keeps people from falling off said drop-off, facing the woods. And he still can't believe how dark it is. But he doesn't dare turn on the bike headlight. If he does that, he'll be blind to anything that falls outside of that light's circle. So he just waits and listens. He sits there for another 10 minutes or so, the feeling of dread in his stomach growing and growing. But all he hears is regular nighttime in the forest noises. So he finally decides it's time to go home. This is just not turning out to be the anxiety-easing, relaxing trip it was supposed to be. He's more anxious now than when he started. He hops on his bike, starts it up, and starts heading for the gate. Now, with that much thick forest around, wildlife can be all over the roads at night. So he's keeping his speed to a very conservative 15 miles an hour so he can keep an eye out for any deer or any other animals that could jump into the road, scaring the crap out of both of them. When he sees it, Gris says the term almost deer. It's pretty close, but not quite right. Imagine giving a description of a deer to someone who has never seen a deer, and then having that person draw a picture of it. Bring that picture to life, and that is what Gris saw standing in the road. It's standing on the left side of the road, so the side where the mountain and trees are. And Gris sees the shine from its eyes before his headlight catches up to show the whole thing. It is big, easily the biggest deer he has ever seen, but no antlers, so it must be a doe. Its head is shaped more like a cow or a buffalo head, wider than a deer's head should be, but fixed to a deer's body. It has a big barrel chest and legs that are too long for its body. Gris is totally skivved out, but just assumes that it's a malformed deer. It's highly unnerving, but it happens. Unfortunately, he's got to get it to move, because he's not going 30 plus miles the other way to leave through another gate, but he's also not going anywhere near that thing. He flashes his high beams at it. Nothing. He revs the engine. Negative. He honks the horn. Nope. He climbs off his bike and starts yelling at the thing, and it still doesn't budge. So he starts heading to the side of the road, the plan being to grab a rock or something to throw in its direction, hoping that will spook it. But as soon as he crosses into the other lane, the not deer rises up onto its hind legs. Gris freezes, then starts reaching for his gun. He is not about to get taken out by some psycho deer. The near deer takes 2 jerky, unnatural steps towards the center of the lane on 2 legs and stops again, its eyes staring right at Gris. It suddenly shakes his head side to side like a dog with a toy, takes 1 more small step, then hops on 2 legs until it disappears into the darkness on the right side of the road. Gris runs back to the bike, gets on, and turns his headlight toward that side of the road. And it's gone? Nope. Remember that side of the road is the side with the drop-off, and it's like an 80-degree slope, almost straight down. When Gris swings his headlight in that direction, he sees the thing's head just peeking over the edge, still looking at him. The drop-off is like 40 to 50 feet, so there's no way that thing is standing on anything. Gris cranks the throttle and tears out of there as fast as his bike will take him, and never again goes back up on Skyline Drive at night alone. Many people talk about seeing the not deer, running away from it, and then only when they're far away and safe do they realize why it was so frightening. Only when they're out of danger do they remember the details of what they saw. This encounter is the perfect example. It comes from a Reddit user named Mage of the Mist, so we'll just call him Mage. About 4 years ago, Mage is in the woods hunting for holly with his brother. His brother is having some luck, so his hands are full, so he runs back to the path to grab a bucket, leaving Mage all by himself. As Mage is still looking around for more holly, he catches a glimpse of what he thinks might be a deer, maybe 15-20 feet away. And based on that quick peek, he thinks it might be a fawn. So he squats down and gets quiet, hoping it'll come into view so he can watch it. But then it stands up. Fear hits Mage like a ton of bricks. Something's not right. He and this deer thing are just staring at each other when his brother comes running back, and he sees it too for a second before it runs off. The two boys just sit there in stunned silence until whatever that thing is long gone. And only then does it hit Mage that the deer he saw had backwards legs that were too long and had too many eyes. Now, it's not all that uncommon to hear stories of cryptid encounters that result in different kinds of physical ailments for those unlucky enough to witness it. And the not deer seems to sometimes display that ability as well. Take this encounter. About 2 years ago, Benji, Tyler, and Jacob are driving down this pretty remote, heavily wooded area when Tyler screams, "Stop the truck!" Benji slams on the brakes as Tyler jumps out of the truck and just starts running down the road. Benji yells after him, "What are you doing?" And Tyler says, "I saw a thing." Tyler stops at a spot in the road. When Benji and Jacob finally catch up to him, Benji asks him, "What did you see?" And Tyler, looking kind of freaked, says, "I don't know. I thought it was a deer, but it stood up." The hair on the necks of all three boys stands straight up. They all book it back to the truck and get the hell out of there. 5 minutes down the road, this thing just comes running next to them on its hind legs. Benji thinks, "What is this thing? Looks like a deer, but its eyes are at the front of its head, not on the sides like a regular deer. And its teeth are showing. Sharp teeth." Beyond that, the only description Benji has for it is demon-like. He stomps on the gas pedal, nearly hitting this whatever it is. At this point, they all have a stomach ache and a headache. Living pretty far out from any good-sized city, they all have experienced some pretty weird stuff, but this one is just different. Once they get back to Benji's house, they lock the doors, lock the windows, and close the blinds. All four of them are suffering from headaches and stomach aches. Now, whether it's from the migraine-level headaches, which take Tyler out for 4 days, the stomach aches, or flat-out fear, all the boys start vomiting as well. When Benji's dad gets home, they tell him what they saw. And he just says, "There are some things we were never meant to see." This encounter happened about 20 years ago and was originally posted on Reddit by NewType06. So we're going to call him Nathan. Nathan, who's about 16 or 17 at the time, and his Boy Scout troop are camping in their Scoutmaster's woods, which is mostly woods with the occasional plot of farmland thrown in. So a few of the boys are walking around the woods in the dark and end up at the cornfield next to the woods. Half the field has been already harvested, so a big chunk of it is cleared. The boys look out over the clearing and see a thing that they assume is a deer because they can see antlers on its head. The problem is they are downwind of this deer and get a whiff of it right from where they are standing. And it smells worse than something dead. And they can hear this wheezy, almost distressed breathing from this thing. They start screaming and hollering and jumping around, trying to scare whatever it is away. But it doesn't faze it. Instead, this thing stands up on 2 scrawny back legs and looks right at them, with its eyeshine from the moonlight staring right at them. And it's like it stopped breathing. It's completely quiet. No more of that raspy breathing sound. It's kind of hunched over, but it's still standing a good 6 to 7 feet tall. It has pale skin and patches of fur, like maybe it has mange. And it's skinny like a deer, but with an elongated face. It lets out this earth-shattering howl, like a woman, a man, and a dying rabbit all screaming at the same time. Every single hair on Nathan's body is standing on end. All the boys are frozen in fear until it starts coming at them, moving in this creepy, stilted way that makes it look like a dying robot. They all start screaming, turn around, and start running back into the woods towards camp. Nathan glances over his shoulder while he's running and sees his best friend right behind him and the creature right behind him. The not deer's arms are swinging around like marionette's arms, and Nathan can see it has fingers on its hands. Too many fingers. I don't really know how many fingers it should have, seeing as though it should have hooves. But that just raises the terror factor one more notch. They can hear that wheezy, huffing, breathing sound again, and the horrific stench is getting worse. They all come crashing into the campsite, the bonfire surrounded by all of the troop leaders, a welcome sight. They look back, and the deer's gone. The adults, more than a little startled by the boys bursting into camp, ask them what is going on, why their faces are white as a sheet, and what on earth has freaked them out so bad. The boys tell the scoutmasters what happened, and the scoutmasters tell the boys that they heard the scream, but they just thought it was the boys messing around. The boys decide to move their tents a little closer to the adults and the bonfire, and the adults stand watch all night. Now, if you're not freaked out by the description of these things yet, you're about to be, because it gets even weirder from here. This next account comes from an online blog called The Deer Man of Central Alberta, which has a whole bunch more stories if you want to go check them out. This sighting comes from a 17-year-old kid we're going to call Craig, traveling to see his friends on a Friday night in May. Craig has made this drive 1,000 times, but on this night, something weird happens and he gets lost driving down Range Road 174. He decides to pull off the road onto a service road and figure out how it's possible that he doesn't recognize where he is. He's driven all of these roads 1,000,000 times. He knows every mile. But he decides the best thing to do is to backtrack until he gets to familiar territory. He turns his car around and starts slowly driving down the road, trying to find his way back. He's going pretty slow so he can keep looking on both sides of the road, hoping he can find some turnoff or something, or maybe he made some accidental turn. While he's continually scanning for where he needs to make his course correction, he spots a half-man, half-deer thing on the side of the road on all fours, standing perfectly still. The strange creature looks like it's trying to cross the road, but it's just standing there, and it is blowing Craig's mind. The car has slowed to a stop, and not knowing what to do, Craig just sits there, mouth hanging open. This horrible, musky smell hangs in the air. Seconds turn to minutes, but he's afraid to move a muscle. He doesn't want to do anything that might provoke this beast to attack him, and then God only knows what'll happen. His life starts flashing in front of his eyes, as well as the thought that no one knows where he is right now. The deer man slowly stands up, revealing its true height, and slowly begins to walk towards the car, moving just like a deer would, with very quick, skittish movements. The temperature outside is dropping, and Craig can see steam shooting out of its nose as it breathes. It silently moves toward the car and begins making these snorting noises that cut through the quiet and fill Craig with a level of fear he has never known. Just as the deer man gets to within just a few feet of the driver's side window, Craig starts crying, throws the car into drive, and tears out of there. He checks his rearview mirror and sees the not deer/man start to run at his car. Craig keeps going and gaining speed, looks back again and sees the creature go back down on all fours and disappear into the darkness. Half deer, half man? That's a sight that will mess you up for a while. But Craig is far from the only one who has seen this cryptid hybrid. Just as hair-raising is a report from 2017 from a witness named Paul from Virginia. Paul's backyard is super thick woods that butt up against shoreline where he has a dock. One evening, he's sitting out on his back porch having a cigarette and talking to his friend on the phone. While he's busy chatting on the phone, he hears something run across the backyard, flashing through the brush. He just blows it off, figuring it's just a deer or some other forest critter, and just keeps talking to his friend. But then he hears another noise down by the dock. Paul's first thought is that there must be some kids playing around down there. So he gets up and goes running over to the set of steep stairs, about 4 feet wide, that go down to the dock. When he gets to the top of the stairs, he looks down and sees something running up the stairs right at him. Paul is in shock. What he sees charging at him is like a person, but it has a deer head with spindly twig-like antlers. It's running up the stairs with seemingly superhuman speed, like another dimension speed, and it is staring right at Paul. It has red eyes, and Paul can't help but just stand there and stare back in total shock paralysis. The stare down continues as this thing quickly closes the gap between the two of them. When it gets right up to him, it actually says something. Paul has no idea what it says. It's just like 4 or 5 syllables really fast, and it seems like it says words, but he doesn't know what they are. And then it banks to the right and just keeps running right by him, so close he could have touched it within inches of him. Paul hasn't told too many people about this encounter. I wonder why. But some that he has told have suggested that perhaps it's something demonic because of the red eyes. And Paul says he doesn't think so. He didn't get a demonic vibe from this thing. But then again, before that night, he had no idea that not deer even existed. So anything is possible, I guess. I knew before I started researching this episode that not deer were a thing, but I didn't realize how many stories are actually out there. It's like Sophie's Choice in a good way. So if these stories sufficiently freaked you out and you'd like another round, let me know in the comments. If your fight or flight is in high gear and you want to ride the wave with more stories of high strangeness, click here. Be careful out there, and I will see you here again on the In-Between.